Hey, Woodstock here. Hope everyone's doing okay out there. Appreciate you stopping by as well. We're working on a miniature spirit again, like the giveaway I'm currently having. This one will be a little bit smaller than the two pieces I have for up for grabs. This one will be more comical, more ape-like, I think, as you could aptly describe it. But yeah, I usually start off with the eyes on these pieces. And right now I'm using a Saburrtooth burr, which is used for the blockout stage, more or less. Get a rough shapes in before the detail stage. Yeah, apologies for the static background. Sometimes there's some crackling in the background. It's just yeah, my headphones acting a little sketch. But anyway, so I'll be intermittently interjecting some commentary throughout the video here, which will be roughly around 20 minutes in length. A little longer this time, but I figured I'd cover more on this one. The reason why it's a little bit longer is I didn't speed it up as much as I usually do, because this current speed here is like 3 times real time, so it's not as much as the other ones I was doing, which was like 6x. So hence the lengthier video, and I figured I'd slow it down a bit in case someone was like bothered by the super hyper speed. This little guy's made out of a maple branch. Whenever I cut branches off trees or trim trees, I save bits here and there that look pretty good for future projects. Yeah, this is a start to finish video, more or less, and we'll get everything done necessary within the 20 minutes to have a final product or close to it. But like I'd sometimes find myself in the future going back to certain pieces, doing adjustments here and there. It's kind of like a work in progress sometimes for some pieces. I mean, a little stopping point. Looking at the profile there, it's got a flat nose, which always bothers me. I like to have some kind of more pronouncement of the nose instead of having a flat nose, like the Easter Island is a good example. Those little rock sculptures down there. They're not little, but they're huge. But they seem similar to the flat nose that you just saw there. So like I kind of correct that by going for the bridge of the nose, pushing it back farther in. And it's funny, I use a small bit early on sometimes like this because I'm just kind of probing around, looking at the face, seeing what I need to work on, and then I'll oftentimes go back to a larger burr later on in the project and knock down some high areas that need to be taken care of. So I got the pretty much the eyes where I want them. Leave a little bag there, like pronouncement where the eyes are going to be detailed out. But I always push the corners back in to give it more depth. Working under the eye bags. And I tend to use spherical burrs very much throughout the project because I like the unobtrusive nature of the spherical burr. Here I switched over to Forney Burr. It's less intrusive, much like the spherical burr because of its shape. These Forney burrs are cool because you can use them on the side like that to remove material. And also you can use the tip to probe into deep areas as well. So it's kind of a versatile burr, I'd say. Like we even here, I'm using it to start the mustache area, kind of bring it in a little bit. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to try to work on different size faces. Gives you a little more diversity as well. Yeah, I think these are going to be pretty cool gifts for friends and family. Still got kind of a flat nose. He needs to be dealt with, but we'll get it covered in the future here. Here I'm using the obligatory wire wool, steel wool, and some sandpaper as well, which I don't use quite often, but sandpaper works better on the dryer wood than the pine knots that I normally use, or which I'm more likely to use as a preferred carving medium. But yeah, trying to get under the nose there to push it farther back in with the smaller spherical burr there. And I'm working on the eyes where the pupils are going to be. Maybe what you call it, the eye line or the cornea. I'm not keen on anatomical referencing or not nomenclature. Yeah, the reason why I started off with this piece in hand is because it's so small. I want to try something different as opposed to, you'll see here shortly where I throw it in a vise for more stability. Because a couple times the Dremel was so powerful that when I was carving this piece, it just chucked it out of my hand, as you saw earlier in slow motion. So, yeah, this vise you see here is a pretty freaking old vise from my grandfather. I think it's about 100 years old, like I said, from New York State back in the day. Fulton Machine and Vice Company out of Lowville, New York. So it's pretty old school. I want to do a video on this vise because it's pretty unique, and they don't make things like this anymore. We'll be on the road soon here, so I'll probably try to do some road videos, especially through Nebraska. There's a lot of cool cottonwood bark places along the Platte River there on the 80. So I did collect a bit of bark there, but it doesn't seem to be like the bark that I have here in Illinois because it seems just so much larger here. I don't know why. Maybe it's like probably age of the tree too. Has a lot to do with the size of the bark. Using a diamond burr here for the mouth area and mustache. I'm going to be shortly putting in the mouth here. I'm just going to punch in the lips, like the mustache will be covering most of the mouth as it is, but the plan here is I always do the mouth last. It's just a habit. I've never really started with the mouth and worked my way up. That might be something to try though, I guess. See how it works out. But normally this is my approach, is a top down. The mouth here is, it's a little bit lower, gives it an ape-like appearance because of the distance between the bottom of the nose to the mouth. Usually the mouth would be brought up a little higher, so it's got some kind of ape-like persona there, somewhat cartoonish, which was totally intentional. Like I said, this face is on the smaller side. It's almost the same diameter as my thumb, actually. So it's kind of on the smaller side. I do have some magnifying apparatus, which I'll bust out and show you guys here in the next video. Yeah, it's a large magnifying lens on an articulated arm, and it has a old fluorescent light inside of it, which doesn't seem to work, but that's how I bought it off eBay. But I kind of like the look of it. It's really cool. You guys will see it here soon. It's good for small work, but it's kind of more of a novelty item. But it does help with zooming in on small areas of the face, which tend to get cumbersome when you're doing micro work like that. But it's called a Ney Magni light, and I think it was popular with jewelers back in the day. But now they got way better arms you can get, in which you could probably find much cheaper than the price I paid for this one. So, that being said, I'm going to have a video on that one pretty soon showing you how that thing operates. And yeah, it's really cool. You'll like it. But anyway, we're going over some footage here of the little guy, like he's in his vise now. Now I stuck him on a little stick or steel rod just so I could rotate the face a little easier, just like that. Gives me a little more control. And I drilled a hole in the bottom of the head because that's where we're going to stick a string through his head, just like the other pieces I did, where you can use them as a keychain or a rear view mirror or ornament of sorts. So my goal is to make a bunch of these things because I'm on this kick right now where I think they're kind of cool and they make perfect gifts. They're not too cumbersome or overtly obtrusive. Perfect to carry around with, I'd say. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'm using this Dremel Stylo Plus quite often these days. You probably have noticed that. I mention it here and there quite a bit. It's more or less a detail tool. I mean, they have these other micro motors, which I think Carve Rob uses quite a bit of those. And Jordy uses I think it's called the M motor or something, I'm not sure. But anyway, they were talking about these other tools, and they seem to have the higher RPMs as well, and the torque advantage compared to this tool. But they tend to be on the pricier side, which at this point, I'll stick with my Stylo Plus, even though it is limited in power somewhat, as long as it keeps running. I took one apart the other day. Actually, I should maybe cover that, show you what's inside those things, but didn't have the tape rolling on that one, unfortunately. But I was just basically going through the Dremel, because there's these little vents on the side that tend to get sawdust collected inside, and it contaminates the interior of the Stylo Plus, and I thought it was affecting the performance somewhat. So you have to use these micro Torx drivers just to open it up. Same thing when you're opening up a laptop or something like that. They're mini Torx bits. But anyway, that'll be a future video too as well. So for curiosity's sake, I guess. But I'm not sure what the next product is for Dremel, what's on the drawing board. But they do seem to dominate the rotary tool world out there. Rightfully so, since they were like the forefront in the beginning. I think they were the original ones, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they've been around quite a long time. I had one of the really old Dremels that were like, I'm not sure what the model number was, but it was all metal on the outside, not the plastic stuff you got these days. But anyway, that thing got burned up in the fire, unfortunately. It's probably melted or something. I think it was made out of aluminum case on the outside or something like that. Something non-metallic, I think. But you can still find them on eBay. People are still throwing things out there for collector's items, more or less, I guess. Novelty. Anyway, yeah, this little guy's coming along pretty well. I think we're getting close to a stopping point here. And, excuse me. Just doing some fussing over some details here. Incessantly fussing over details. The tediousness of it all. It's sometimes on the verge of obsession. Sometimes you get drawn into it. You go down these little rabbit holes, and you want to keep working and working. But as I've said before, there's always a stopping point. But the cool thing is, you can always go back to them later. But once you get rid of these things, they're in other people's hands. Yeah, I think this guy is going to be perfect for a rear view mirror. It's pretty small, not too heavy. Hopefully it won't swing around too much, but that's my intention for this. But also thought it could be a good necklace. It's small enough to fit around your neck. Be your buddy or something like that. Usually hit the guy with some wire wool at the end here. Especially like the medium coarse style wire wool, which it's not too aggressive, not too smooth. It's just in between. Like I said, it's a lot of back and forth with this kind of work for me. Little adjustments here and there, and you finally get your face where you want it. It's all good though. But I appreciate everyone for showing up, and it's been real, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Hopefully, see who wins these two faces we got coming up here on Sunday. Should be exciting. So stay tuned. Looks like we've reached the end again, so appreciate you all sticking it out to the very end if you decided to do so. Otherwise, you can use the chapter points to navigate freely. But anyway, thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.